Since 2022, Max Verstappen and Red Bull has been the dominant force in Formula 1. They have absolutely cleaned up the Drivers' World Championship, dominated pretty much race in race out, and being frankly unbeatable. However, in 2025, I believe that this will be the toughest championship defense yet for Max Verstappen. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. If you enjoy the video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. But now, let's get into the video. Notice how I said it will be his most difficult championship defense yet. So you can't count 2021 as he was not defending the World Championship. But since 2022, F1 has basically belonged to Max Verstappen. As of me making this video on the 7th of February 2025, Max Verstappen has been leading the Drivers' Championship since the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix, which means he has led the World Drivers' Championship for 985 consecutive days. In fact, when the Australian Grand Prix starts, Verstappen will have been leading the World Drivers' Championship for 1,022 consecutive days. The previous record was held by the legendary Michael Schumacher, as he was champion for 896 consecutive days. That goes to show the level Max Verstappen has been on, given that also when Schumacher was racing, the championship was not as long, meaning that there was more time between the races. So why will 2025 actually be a lot more difficult for Max Verstappen to retain? Well, let's get the first and most obvious point out of the way. The competition coming for Verstappen in 2025 will be more fierce than what we have seen at any of the previous races in the previous seasons. In 2022, Red Bull faced stiff competition from Ferrari, at least in the beginning, but after the rule change, Red Bull left Ferrari and just about everyone else for dead, apart from Mercedes randomly winning in Brazil. Then in 2023, Red Bull won all but one race, and Verstappen won 19 of those races that year, going on a dominant run that I don't think we will see again for quite a long time. In 2024, Red Bull started the season still enjoying their healthy advantage over the competition. This allowed Verstappen to build up a healthy gap in the Drivers' Championship before that competition did arrive. In Miami, the competition did arrive, in the form of McLaren. Thankfully for Verstappen and Red Bull though, McLaren may have become the fastest car, but the McLaren team and Lando Norris were not used to fighting at the front for race wins, and they made plenty of mistakes early on, which they have now learned from. But these mistakes helped Max keep that crucial breathing space and lead in the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari took a while to wake up and close the gap as well, but since the Belgian Grand Prix, they did find some fixes for their car, and Ferrari made solid strides forward. Both McLaren and Ferrari now have very solid foundations, and Max Verstappen and Red Bull cannot enjoy the healthy advantage that they previously had. Verstappen will not be able to rest on having a healthy lead in the Drivers' Championship as everyone starts on 0 points. I know 2023 and 2024 was the same, but Red Bull had big advantages for both of those seasons, especially at the beginning. On top of that, McLaren have gotten used to winning once again, and they will have learned a lot of lessons from last year. As for Ferrari, they have made a lot of changes as well, but they have learned a tremendous amount about these ground effect cars. Not only that, but they have Charles Leclerc, who over one lap is potentially the fastest driver in F1 at the moment, and his teammate is the most successful driver of all time, Lewis Hamilton. This combination makes Ferrari pretty much a dream team, and this dream team, along with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, will be big trouble for Max Verstappen. Lando will have learned from his mistakes from last year, as well as the mistakes from McLaren, which should make him a much bigger threat. Lewis Hamilton has all the experience in the world, and Charles Leclerc, as mentioned earlier, is potentially the fastest driver over one lap, and he has shown when close to Max in race pace that he will race Max Verstappen very, very aggressively. I just want to say, if you are enjoying the video so far, then I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. But now, let's get back to the video. Another reason why this is going to be Verstappen's toughest challenge yet is because, well, Red Bull look like they are potentially on the back foot in general. Their biggest issue in 2024, as the season went on, was that the car was starting to develop a more narrow operating window. When the car was in its operating window, and when the circuit was a high-speed, high-downforce circuit, then we saw Red Bull and Verstappen at their absolute best. Think of how Verstappen was in Qatar, for example. However, when the car was not in its window, then we really saw them struggle. There was plenty of races where Verstappen and Red Bull were the third fastest car, which is kind of a problem when you want to try and win the championship. Now, Red Bull have potentially fixed this, and if they have, then the Red Bull team and car will probably a weapon once again. But if it is still an issue for them, and I fear that it will be, then we could see them having similar issues. Suzuka will probably be their strongest race in the first 5 races, as it is an incredibly high-speed circuit, with corners such as the S-curves, Dunlop, the 2 Degners, Spoon Curve, and of course the ultra-fast 130R. But Bahrain, Melbourne, and potentially even Shanghai could cause problems for the team, unless they can open that operating window for their car. The operating window could be something that hurts Verstappen chances, but another reason why it will be his most challenging championship defense yet is because, well, we already know that there is a rule change coming early on in the season, and this rule change, by the sounds of it, is one that Red Bull are reportedly not looking forward to and are actually quite angry about. Coming in at the Spanish Grand Prix, the technical directive will see a clampdown on flexible front wings. Why would this be something Red Bull have an issue with? In general, we have seen that McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari have slightly more flexible front wings. Well, Red Bull put a lot of development time and money into developing a more flexible front wing for this year, which will now be for nothing after the Spanish Grand Prix. Essentially, it is going to be a waste of resources for Red Bull, so I do kind of understand why they would be quite annoyed. It is another thing that puts them on the back foot. The flexibility changes mean that the front wings will be allowed to flex by as much as 10mm. Currently, they can flex up to 15mm, so the teams will need to strengthen up their front wings, and less flexible front wings means that we will see more drag, and we will also see them operating a little bit less efficiently than they currently are. So we have talked a lot about why this is going to be Max Verstappen's most difficult championship defense yet, but let's actually end the video talking positively about Max Verstappen and why he might still be all good. Well, there has been another technical directive, and this is one that will likely hurt McLaren more than anyone else. The rear wings are going to face much more stringent load tests. These load tests mean that we will essentially see a ban on the mini DRS, which will help Verstappen and Red Bull and will hurt McLaren, because of course we saw especially at Baku that mini DRS was very advantageous for them. Also, everything I have said so far is theoretical, which means that it is also theoretical that Verstappen and Red Bull don't suffer as much as we fear, and if that is the case, then Verstappen will still be winning a lot of races. He is overall the best driver in F1 at the moment. He is brutally aggressive on track and doesn't leave any margin. As long as there is a chance that he can win the race, then he will do whatever it takes to actually win that race. Not only that, but in general, Red Bull is still the best team on the grid when it comes to actually managing a Grand Prix. They are typically the most flexible team when it comes to strategy, and they make the tough decisions when it matters most. McLaren has struggled in this area in the last year, and let's be honest, Ferrari have struggled in this area ever since Ross Brawn and Jean Todt left the team almost 20 years ago. So there is still plenty of positives for Max Verstappen, and honestly, I can't wait to see what he does on track, because I do think 2025 is going to be an electric season. The question is, do you guys think this will be Max Verstappen's most challenging championship defense yet? In the comment section down below, please do let me know your thoughts. And as always, comment, leave a like and subscribe for more F1 content. Thank you all so much for watching. And yes, I do know Charles Leclerc is a little bit wobbly back there.